I think that's one of the reasons that the show was taken off the air. You know, actually, it was you created a big stink, didn't you, Connie?
About what?
About the show, because you refused to do the fantasy stuff. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Welcome again, friends and fans, to another episode of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today, we are going to go on top of the world and wonder if it should have been somebody else, with two amazing guests from the greatest American hero. So without further ado, let's put on the red suit and bring them out. Our first guest is an actress whose roles include Hotel, P.S. I Love You, and The Brotherhood of the Rose. She joins us today to discuss the role of attorney and a reluctant adventurer, Pamela Davidson, later Pamela Hinkley. Please welcome Connie Sellecca.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Pretty well. I can't complain.
Oh,
Happy to be here. This is new for me. I've not done one of these before, so bear with me.
Oh, absolutely. The pleasure is ours. I adore the affectation of the UFO behind you. That is...
That's the actual one.
Oh, yeah, the actual... Oh, wow. You kept the prop and the model and everything. Ooh. What? We'll have to get into more in that. I didn't suspect you as a prop filcher, but I could be wrong. Well, Connie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm a big fan of your body of work. And is it wrong of me to say that you're an early crush of mine from the Bermuda depths?
Oh, wow. So you're going to tell me that your grandmother used to watch me? Is that what you're going to say?
No. I was a young lad in the 70s, and I was like, ooh, a giant monster movie. Ooh, who's that? She's pretty.
Big Turtle.
Yeah.
That was my first starring role. That's the movie of the week that I was cast out of New York for, but it actually is what brought me to California.
Oh, well, very excellent. And a curious part of the Rankin Bass collection, but nevertheless, absolutely enjoyable. And we may talk a little bit more about your work, but most of all, thank you for joining us here today. This is an absolute delight.
Thank you.
Indeed. And speaking of delights, our next guest is an actor whose body of work includes House, Carrie, Big Wednesday, and a role in Pippin. Today, he joins us to discuss his role of eternally beleaguered high school teacher and part-time superhero Ralph Hinkley. Please welcome Mr. William Katt.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, William, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Hey, I have a beef to. I have a bone to pick with you because Connie got first billing. What the heck was that?
Ladies first.
Thank you.
Ladies first. Okay.
That's the way it should be.
Ladies first. And she's got the UFO. You've got the statue behind you. Yes,
Really? Did you know I took the UFO when we wrapped the show?
Did you really? Oh my God! I think they have Bob Cope up there. You know.
Oh, William, how have you been? How have you been holding up this past crazy year of ours?
I'm good. I've actually enjoyed the, the lockdown hasn't bothered us as much as everybody else. My wife works from home, and I'm kind of semi-retired, except for the occasional film role. And I hack around with music. I occupy myself all day long for my own benefit, and so I have fun. And my wife is here. She texts me in the middle of the day and said, "Make me lunch." So I go make her lunch, and then we meet again at night for dinner and a walk. So it's not been bad for us,
I have to agree. I have to agree with that.
Very much so. And speaking of roles, I was so glad that the crowdfunding was able to enable the sequel to Man from Earth, a film that I absolutely adore. I've spoken on, call it the secret Star Trek film. But yeah, I loved your role in it, and I was so glad everybody was able to come back and do a part two.
Oh yeah, good. Richard Shetman did a very good job with that, I think, and Eric Wilkinson, who produced that, dear friend of mine, both of them, great people, and I'm glad we got to do it. It's one of those films where, it was kind of a low budget deal, but I would tell people, if you watch the first 10 minutes, you're going to watch the whole movie because it's such an intriguing story.
And it can work equally well as a play. I've always said it can be done on a black box with a great cast. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And thank you both for joining us here today on what we call the GalaxyCon virtual stage. We're looking forward to the day when we can host guests like you back at our physical stages. And we're almost there. We are all almost there. And we're looking forward to the day when we can get you back in front of your fans. In the meantime, we have this forum. Our team right now is going through the chat room, pulling out questions for us. In the meantime, I just love to just find out, how did Greatest American Hero evolve for both of you? When was the first blip on the radar of it's a superhero show, but not really? You want to come in and read for it?
For me, that's what it was. Absolutely, just like that. And I read it. I was very excited about it. At that time, I had finished my first series, which was called Flying High, and I was happy to get back into another one. But what I loved was that my character, the character of Pam Davidson, was not on board. She was very hesitant, incredulous, suspicious. And I loved that part of the pilot. That's why the pilot is one of my favorite episodes of the whole series. Because once things got going and she was a part of the team, it wasn't, quite the same. But I remember my audition. I remember it very, very clearly, my first audition and then second. But Billy, I didn't meet you until after, right? We didn't audition together.
I didn't meet you until we were shooting.
Right. That's
Oh,
what I
wow.
thought.
Yeah, the pilot was the first time I met you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So no chemistry tests or anything like that, huh?
No. I hated her right off the bat.
He did.
Well,
This girl, look at her. No one is going to be paying attention to me.
Shannon Lixman, this wasn't her first superhero rodeo. You were in Captain America: The Deadly Years with Reb Brown and Christopher Lee.
Right.
And so that's it too. So, nice. It is. So, William, how did this evolve for you?
Me? I was on stage in New York with Diana Wiest and doing an off-Broadway play at the Phoenix Rep, and got a script from my agent, Michael Black, at the time. And I said I wasn't interested in doing TV. I was happy on stage. But I read the script. It was extremely funny, laugh out loud funny. And Steve Cannell got in his jet and flew back to New York, took me out to dinner. And I don't know how they came to me, but I was lucky enough. And I guess I fit the bill and, ended up closing the play, dyeing my hair back blonde because my hair was dark brown at the time. But my natural color was blonde. Now it's white. But I came back to Los Angeles the day after we closed and started. The funny thing is, Steve never talked about, he refused to talk about that red suit. I would say, well, what does the suit look like? And he refused to. So when we actually did, I don't think you were there that day, Connie, but when we did this stuff in the house and I put the suit on for the first time and I look in the mirror and I go, "Hi, sailor," He kept that in. It was an ad lib. I don't think they'd be able to get away with that these days. But at that time, because it's a little politically incorrect, but it wasn't meant that way. It was a dig at myself in that costume, and they had cartoons on in the background with some, with Mickey Mouse on. Mighty Mouse was on, I think, at the time. And anyway, that's how it evolved. I loved working with Connie. It was one of those lightning in a bottle situations. The way when Robert Culp and the marvelous Connie and myself all got together, what you saw on screen wasn't it, Connie? It was kind of
yes, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. They should have had a camera on us when we were in the car all the time. Remember when we would do the drive-bys? And that's when the three of us would be in the car. We'd be blocks away. And I remember one time you and I were trying to talk Robert into going for McDonald's drive-through. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be in the car and we'd be waiting for the director to say action, but it was taking so long. And we'd say, "Come on, let's go." But Billy and I would have done it, but Robert said,
I just remember you and I sitting in the car having so much fun. You were so easy to make laugh, Connie. Oh my God, so easy to make laugh. And when Robert, you and I would be sitting there, and I would sit in I would feel these nails clawing into my side.
My nails. I remember.
Yeah, when Robert was driving, because at the time, Robert had a little bit of the first season, a little bit of a drinking problem, which he hid very well. I mean, and he was so charming. But when he was driving, it was kind of nerve-wracking.
It was, and I would be in the middle of. I'd be in the back seat in the middle of the two of them, and I would get very nervous and dig my nails into Billy's shoulder. I'm sorry about that. I apologize now.
Oh my God, it was fun.
I remember once on Pacific Coast Highway, we had to do a complete turn.
Yeah.
Complete U-turn. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it is undeniable that the chemistry that the two of you and the third one with Culp was the heart of the show and the charm of the show. It's easy on the outside to think of it. Well, yeah, it's a guy running around, fighting crime or whatever, but it was about these characters that you guys exemplified so well throughout the run, and that's a credit to you both as actors. It really is.
It's remarkable how all these many years later, now they have these huge franchise of the Marvel and the DC universes and whatnot, and I think we might have had something to do with that, along with Adam West and a couple of the other shows that were precursors to all of this. But the world of the cons out there, I mean, there wasn't any of that when you and I were doing the shows, Connie. My gosh.
Well, again, I was not a fan of superheroes, but this was different. This was completely different. Even though I had already done another superhero show, Captain America, but I didn't read comic books. I wasn't a fan, but this was very, very different because this was personal relationships. It wasn't just the wonderful thing is we had to figure out why he had the suit. Yeah. There was that fight between, are we fighting justice and crime with the suit, or is he supposed to be a good Samaritan and just help people? So that was a great part of it.
Yeah. And I as I understand it, Cannell really wanted to keep it human centric. He didn't really want superhero plots. And as always, when something is going good, the network sends notes, as we all know.
Right.
That was always a bone of contention because Connie and Robert and I and Steve himself, all of us, we wanted to keep it that way. And the network kept coming and saying, no, we got to chase monsters and this, and we got to do some fantasy stuff here. And we were all pretty opposed to that. But I think that's one of the reasons that the show was taken off the air. Actually, it was you created a big stink, didn't you, Connie?
About what? About
the show, because you refused to do the fantasy stuff. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh my God.
I was the last one to make a stink, as you know. I was the last one. But I do remember your relationship with the red suit in real life, that you brought that to the camera. And that's what was so magical about your relationship with the suit, is what you felt in real life.
Yeah, I hated it. I hated putting that red suit on. They would have had me flying around the country in that red suit to doing openings everywhere, and I refused.
I think I remembered. Isn't it true that you would not wear it? We were asked to do the cover of People magazine, and you would not wear it. Correct. On the cover, you would hold it, right?
What was it? Was it just physically uncomfortable to wear, or did it just?
Well, it sagged in all the wrong places. I'm serious, and it was cold in the winter, and it was incredibly hot in the summer. And I remember, Connie, for years, for the 3 years we were on, you wanted to get in that suit, and they didn't put you in it.
No, they didn't.
The irony of the whole thing is that. When I left,
they gave it to another girl to put on.
They gave it to a girl to try it, and I believe, if I'm correct, I mean, my friend George Wendt did the pilot. They tried to do a reboot just like 2 or 3 years ago. My friend George Wendt was in it, and they gave it to a girl, and the girl was going to do it, and the pilot apparently didn't work.
I think that was like the late 80s, like 1986.
No, it was just 2 or 3 years ago. They did.
Oh no, that one. Oh, that was the second one with Hannah Simone. That was the one with Hannah Simone. But before that, like in 1986, they gave it to another girl. So that was shortly after we did. And because I was doing Hotel at the time, and I did a guest spot with you and, well, Robert was going to do the series.
I know.
And you and I went back and
do you remember the table read with the girl?
No.
You were.
I don't think I was at the table read.
Oh, yes, you were.
I was?
You were kicking me
I
under
told you I didn't remember anything.
You were kicking me under the table.
Oh, I don't remember.
I do.
Okay.
Because I don't, if I understand correctly, they ended up not broadcasting that officially, but then they folded it into the syndication package.
Right.
So at the tail end of it, they broke it down to a 2-parter, sort of an add-on in the syndication package. So I believe it's involved with it. But William, you're saying that they did another attempt at a reboot just a few years ago?
Just a few years ago, yes.
Okay,
With
all right.
Who was the gal, Connie?
Hannah Simone?
Hannah Simone, yes.
Okay.
Very funny, a wonderful, charming, attractive young girl. Yeah. I don't know. I actually tried to see it. I tried to get in touch with Tanya, Steve's daughter. Who
Wasn't she involved? She was involved.
She was very involved with that project. And but I never had a response. I just wanted to see it. Just let me look at it. I'd like to see it,
Yeah.
And you couldn't get it?
Couldn't get it, no.
And there was a time before that, before the one with Hannah Simone, where they were casting for a movie version of The Greatest American Hero, and my son actually auditioned.
Did he really?
Yes. And it's
was that when Steve was still a part of it? When it was at Disney originally?
No, I don't think so. I know Steve was. It was after Steve had already passed.
Oh, okay.
But he went in and he auditioned. Yeah, and I was pregnant with him, and that's this 40 years. So my son is about to turn 40, but I was pregnant with him when we were shooting the first 6 episodes or so of the first season, and I found out I was pregnant after the show was picked up. We did the pilot, and then the show was picked up, and then I found out I was pregnant. And I remember how difficult a decision it was to call Steve. I thought for sure I was going to be let go. And I called Steve. I said, I really need to come in and see you. And he says, I'm sorry, Connie, I'm so busy. I said, this is really important. I need to come in because I wanted to do it face to face. And I went in and face to face told him that I understand if he has to let me go, but I'm pregnant. And I thought for sure that was going to be it. And he said, okay, we'll deal with it. Goodbye. And it was like, it was no big deal. And his wife, Marcia, was pregnant then with Chelsea. Yeah. And also Robert Culp's wife was pregnant with their little girl, Samantha. So we had a lot of little babies around the set.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So anything that needed to be carried for the first few episodes, I carried it. And then I was gone for a couple of episodes when I gave birth. And then I'll never forget. Billy got a little tired of me nursing my baby off camera. Do you remember that, Billy?
I do. I was like,
he finally had it. He goes, okay, somebody else stay off camera so she doesn't have to be there.
Well, let me ask this then. What has become your fondest memory that you've taken from your experiences with Greatest American Hero?
For me, it was in the makeup trailer with Connie in the morning, and because people don't know, she's a wonderful joke teller. She's got some really blue jokes, and she would always surprise us with a new joke pretty much every morning.
I've heard the legends of her sense of humor over the.
I've grown out of it.
Oh, that's a shame.
We had fun. We really did. I think that's my fondest memory about the experience was how wonderful everyone was. What a family we were.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it was great to go to every morning. I look forward to going to the set and pretty much laughing all day long.
I know we laughed a lot. I agree. We laughed a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it shows. To me, the charm of the show was always that to me, it was comfy. And I don't mean that in any sort of disparaging way. It was just your characters were just so likable, the energy, the interplay, and weirdly enough, it's a lot of people don't realize this too. Is that all three of your characters were kind of civic characters. You had a teacher, you had an attorney, you had an FBI agent.
Right.
So it's like three facets of a representation of society. Not to get too highbrow about it, but I think that was a little bit of a nice undertone that brought to the show as well. And
we didn't have a set. We only went to the set of a real set a few times. So we were on practicals most of the time. Driving, half hour, 45 minutes to get to the locations.
Yeah,
and
one day we'd be in Acton and way north of Los Angeles. The next day we'd be in Long Beach.
Yeah,
way south in San Pedro. And then we never knew where we were going to be until that time. They would hand us, they didn't have internet at the time. So they would hand us a call sheet with a location. And, oh my God, we worked forever, didn't we, Connie?
Yes.
Long hours. Oh my God, we worked like a normal day was like 14 hours.
Oh, at least sometimes more. And I had an infant. And so I was trying to juggle all of that. But, thank God I was able to bring him to work every day. And it was perfect. I was very, very blessed, very lucky.
Yeah. And then darn you and Bob would be off and I wouldn't get a day off. I'd have to be up on a blue screen or something, hanging on wires.
I know.
And they were always giving you new powers.
New powers, yeah.
So it's always let's have them do this. Oh, that's requires some new FX shots, and we have to come on in and do the effects. I can't.
Those new powers. That's why I think the show could have still been on the air because the chemistry was there, and there was no end to the imagination of what powers could be brought to that suit.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I think it would still be on the air. We'd be old and like we are now, but still
yeah.
Well, thank you very much for honoring my questions. I think we're good to go on our audience questions. So let's go ahead and switch over to them. And our first one comes from Stiles, and they want to know, what would be your dream project to work on?
Oh. Connie?
Well, I think I had my dream project when I worked on P.S. I Love You. That was my favorite character that I played. And she was a crazy character. And it was very different than anything else I was ever cast for. So I think that was my dream project.
Fair.
For me, it would be.
Did you ever see it, Billy?
No, I never. I did. I haven't seen it. Now I'm going to look for it.
Yeah.
Who starred in that with you, Connie?
Greg Evigan, my dear friend Greg Evigan.
Oh, I love Greg. Do you still talk to him?
Oh, yes, we're very close. Yeah.
Oh, please give him my best. I really like him. I haven't seen him in years, but I always loved his work and thought very highly of him as just a person.
He's a great guy.
What a great guy.
Very close to his wife and his whole family. Unfortunately, we just had a funeral for his mom, so that's where I saw him last about a week and a half ago.
Oh, gee whiz. Well, my condolences go out to him. My dream project would be, I've loved most of my projects that I've really loved, other than Hero and the few or three things that we've all mentioned here, have been on stage. I love being on stage. Pippin being probably at the zenith there, getting to work with Bob Fosse and Ben Vereen and the likes. I'd love to do Hero again with Connie, right? I would love to do that again and be like the grandparents, right? Or relatives of somebody. I've got some great ideas. Funny.
Let's
put Bob his head in a box, right? Have him come down on the green light from the spaceship and be there.
This is the scenario.
There you go. We could do that. That would be a lot of fun to do.
Did they ever air the episode where we got married?
I think they did. Yeah, I think they did. Yeah. It was in one of the shows, one of the later shows. Yeah.
So then you're right. The hero could now be our grandson.
Yeah.
Could be. All right.
Maybe like-
Stiles.
I mean, I love being goofy. That's one of my favorite things to do. I can be goofy in a second.
There were times when he would try to make me break. So if I was having my close up and he had to come around the corner and expose himself, he would come with mayonnaise dripping out of his mouth to see if he could break me. That's what we dealt with.
Please tell me somebody yelled, "Mad dog, mad dog."
Yeah.
Stiles, thank you. Very fun question to start us off with. What's next? Here's one from Nancy, who wants to know, besides, did you keep anything on the set, but other than Connie's UFO?
I did not.
Well, Dennis Matalone took the suit, the original suit. I know.
Well, we know William didn't want it, so.
No, I didn't. I'll show you this. This is a fan gave me this, which I love.
Oh.
Hi. Connie, you remember this? I did a birthday.
You did a birthday message to me using it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had fun with that.
That was nice. Thank you.
So but I didn't take anything from the set. Just great memories. Just fabulous, wonderful memories.
I did take the name placard that was on my. I think once they did a scene in my office, so I took the thing that said Pam Davidson.
Fair.
That's all I took.
Fair. There you go, Nancy. Thank you. Ask a question. We got a puppet show. I love it. What do we have next? From Adrienne. Who or what inspired you to become an actor?
For me, my parents were both actors. Bill Williams and my mom, Barbara Hale, who was probably most well known for her portrayal of Della Street on the Perry Mason specials. And I just I don't know what that pretty much inspired me to become an actor, and I just fell into it and I started to make money and I just stayed with it. Connie, I don't know what inspired you.
Mine was completely the opposite. No one I knew, no one in my family had anything to do with the business. So no one could help me when I said, this is what I wanted to do. So it was quite different. So I started out modeling.
That's what I thought for a model. I was just going to say that. Yeah.
And studying acting in New York while I was making money modeling. And then as I said, my first audition, my first leading role came out of New York. That's where it was cast. So that was my path. And then once I moved to California, I stayed. So working,
there you go.
Thank God, working.
A gig is a gig. Indeed. Yes. Adrienne, thank you so much. Wonderful question. Here's one for Kristie. If you could write your own version of the future of your hero characters after the series, what would it be? So if you actually were given creative control of the characters, how do you think?
Well, that's too much responsibility for me.
Well, I think you guys said it a little earlier. You can see yourselves as
good
grandparents and
right.
and
but using the suit to be good Samaritans and bring goodness and stop crime and it to an extent. But I think that's what it would be, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I was very fortunate. I read an early script that Steven had written for when the series was at Disney originally. He had written a script, and there was another suit that somebody else got and was and was using it for nefarious purposes. And the Greatest American Hero had to go after that person, I think. And he talked at the time, this was a while ago, he was talking about the wonderfully funny and incredibly clever and creative Jack Black to play that character. So it was going to have that kind of a feeling. That would have been fabulous to see.
That was before 1981?
No, this was in the early 90s.
Oh.
Yeah. When he had written a couple scripts
Oh, you said for the film.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the film.
Yeah.
And I liked that. Obviously, it had to be something where we were saving the earth. You know, kind of like what they're doing with what they've finally done with the Avengers in that universe. We were going to save the world. You know.
Sure, I can totally see that. So
that's all superheroes do. They save the world. You know,
or they get cats out of trees.
Yes.
But there is no such thing as a small good deed. So, and Kristie, thank you. Very fun one. What's next? Here's over Debbie. Oh, aside from The Greatest American Hero, what other show or role that you've done would be your favorite?
Oh, I think I already answered that, so you can.
Yes, I Love You. Yeah, so everyone's going to find that now. What would be my favorite? Well, one of my favorites was Pippin on stage that I did, and you know, I've always loved doing musicals, so you know, I would love to do something on stage. You know, again, some kind of great musical, new musical would be fabulous for me.
And correct me if I'm wrong. The broadcast version of Pippin that you were in, that was kind of a chance they took, right? Like they never really had done that before. Right. They had done television musicals like with Peter Pan and stuff like that, but they had never done up until that point. No, we're actually going to show the Broadway musical on television. Right.
Yeah. No, we rehearsed that in New York at Broadway Arts on 57th, and then we took it up to Toronto, and Fosse went up there and trained a hockey cameraman that were shooting hockey games. And he trained them, and we shot that live over 5 days. You know, in front of a live audience, and then one day up on stage with Steadicam.
Wow. And let's go ahead and roll another one. From Alex, which TV show or movie was the most challenging to work on?
Connie, I'll let you answer that first.
I think probably it was Brotherhood of the Rose. It was a mini series I shot in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it was our summer and their winter. And it was beautiful, but that was probably the most challenging, those conditions.
Great cast. I'm a big Robert Mitchum fan. So
yes.
Oh, wonderful! I love Robert Mitchum. I don't think I ever saw that either. Gee whiz! I'm so sorry.
Television. It was a miniseries, a two-parter, late '80s.
Yeah, 2 or 3-parter. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it back then, and yeah.
And Peter Strauss. It was Peter Strauss.
Yeah.
Love Peter Strauss. Where is
David
Peter
Morse
Strauss these days?
David Morse too was in that.
Yeah. Strauss, he's done some narration work, I think. I think he's done some he's done voices for documentaries and stuff for the past couple of years.
Oh.
That's popping in my head. I could be wrong. But he's working. He's working. So, well, so most challenging to work on. You could say hero because of the suit.
It wasn't.
Okay.
No, you know, I could pick at bones with the show, but it was just it was a joy to work on. You know, I can't think of anything bad connected to that show. You know, Robert and I had a little bit of a, you know, there was a little bit of tension there in the first few weeks of the show, but we you know, I knocked on his door one day in the first, about 2 weeks into it, and said, "Hey man, we're going to be working a long time together. Can we kind of arrive at some sort of a détente?" And we did, and it was a great personal relationship. And I was so happy, Connie, that in 2008 we went to San Diego Comic-Con. We were launching a comic book. And you and I and Robert got together down there, and it was such a joyous occasion.
It was. You dragged me out to that too, just like you dragged me out to this, and I had the best time.
Yeah, I remember we're walking down the hall to the conference room where we were doing a Q&A like this, and you held on to my arm walking down the hall, and you said, "What if no one shows up?" You remember that? And we walk into the room, and there's like 2,000 people.
Yeah, I had just had shoulder surgery right before that.
Oh, that's right.
Remember? And I was like icing my shoulder all the way down on the carpet. It was fun. Thank you for dragging me out for that. And thank you for dragging me out for this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very glad to have both of you. I'm glad you were able to patch that up. I've been on theatrical projects or whatever where it's just like, look, let's work this out, and I'm glad you did, because sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, and Culp was, I thought he was a tremendous talent. I thought he should have directed more. I thought he did a couple of films that I thought he had a good eye for it. But.
Well, I'll tell you something, and Connie knows this probably too. Robert always thought of himself first as a writer, then a director, and then an actor. He was always and my God, you know this, Connie. He was constantly rewriting our scripts.
Constantly writing. He was always locked in his motorhome writing. Yeah. And it was Lilacs, Mr. Maxwell. Is that the episode?
Lilacs for Maxwell, I believe that's what it was.
He directed 2 episodes, and he had written several other scripts. I have one in my garage somewhere that he wrote that never got shot. And I know because I was seeing him quite often when he was just before he passed, and he had a film he was doing. He was getting ready to direct that coming summer, and he never got a chance to do it.
What a shame. What a shame. Alex, thank you. Great question. What do we have next? From Elsie. What superpower would you want to have? We talked a little bit about this in the pre-show, but
for me, it's obvious. I would like to be able to fly. Would be fantastic.
Oh, I dream about flying, so maybe that is also.
Yeah. I'm
not sure that or it being invisible.
Yeah, that has to be the top 2. Yeah.
I did get a chance. My character did get a chance to fly. Only once, right? With you when you what was the episode? Now You See It, when you predicted the plane was going to crash and you saved me from the plane. And then it was the only time I got to come and do the green screen with you flying. I was on your back.
Really?
Yes. No, you don't remember that?
I don't remember.
I think it was only one time. You do remember that I got to fly with you one time, right?
I do, but I don't remember the circumstance.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Oh.
So I remember something.
There you go. Else, if I often say this, if I could pick a superpower, or be to sing like Freddie Mercury. I'll say thank you. Great question. What do we have next? Here's one from Jerry. Wants to know, how much input did you have over your character's appearance? Hair, wardrobe, costuming?
For me, not a lot really. But
it was designed.
They just let us. I pretty much was just myself on the show. I always thought of that character as a real guy in an absurd situation, and that's the way I played it.
Yeah, I can see that.
I had a team of wardrobe people, hair and makeup people, and that was it. There was never a problem with anyone's creativity coming, that someone came down and said this has to change. So
yeah, I mean, and writing wise, we were able to. Steve Cannell and Frank Lupo and Juanita Bartlett and all the people connected with the producers. They pretty much gave us all free rein to change our dialogue enough that it sounded natural coming out of our mouth, right?
So what we did, we had a read-through. They would come down to the set once a week, and we would give up our lunch period, bring lunch into one of our motorhomes, and we would sit and we would read the script out loud, because there was not time when you shoot 1-hour shows. If you finish one, you'd go right into the next one. So there's not time to meet in a conference room like you see so many times, like with 3-camera shows where you sit in the conference room and read. But Steve was wonderful about wanting to hear it out loud. So he would come down and we would do that. And that was
great. And they would make changes, constantly making changes. He was so gracious. His whole team was was gracious. They were lovely.
That's a little bit of a rarity. Some people are like, no.
I worked with Aaron Spelling a number of times, and you couldn't change one word. You couldn't change one word with an Aaron Spelling show. Well, look at your eye. I mean, the script supervisor was always there like a drill sergeant saying, oh, no, you can't. He says, and. You have to say, and. You have to say exactly what's on that page.
It wasn't that bad, but it was very strict. We actually had to reshoot a scene because someone in the scene, not me, held the wine glass the wrong way.
Oh, wow. Was Hotel, was that a Aaron Spelling?
Aaron Spelling. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said there, but that's what I said. No. It's you said they apostrophe air. It's THER.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was another wonderful experience for me. I had a great time on that show. I don't want to imply that it was anything but wonderful.
No. It's and again, it's just the different methodologies. Sometimes get to work with too, and then sometimes this is how it is. And
you can't argue with his success. He was, and personally, he was always wonderful to me, as I'm sure he was to you, Connie.
He was.
Aaron was a lovely man.
He was.
Very much so. Jerry, thank you. Fine question. I think we have time for one more, so let's see if we can go on a really fun one. Here's one from Steve. What other fandom meaning other kind of DC superheroes, Marvel superheroes, Shakespeare, the New York Mets, would you have liked to have seen have a crossover with the greatest American hero?
I've never thought of that. We never did a time travel show, did we?
No, we didn't.
No, never.
Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they would pick up a character and bring them into the present or something. That would have been
That would have been awesome. See,
Yeah.
I told you there's no end to what could have been done on that show. We would never have run out of ideas. There's a wonderful idea.
Wonderful idea.
We kind of had a crossover with Seinfeld. They used our hit song on George's answering machine.
Oh, yeah. They kind of did that with Seth MacFarlane paid homage to our show in one episode when Peter was being dragged behind a boat or something, and he was singing American Hero.
I think I heard that. Yeah.
They were wondering why a show that had such a short life had such long legs and endured in popularity over so many years. He made fun of it. Yeah.
Well, Steve, thank you. Great question. And William, Cass, Connie, this has been an absolute delight. Any final words for our audience before we go?
Just thank you. Thank you for continuing to be a fan of the show. And thank you for this. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Billy, for dragging me out.
You're welcome, sweetie.
It has been my absolute pleasure to serve you both here today. Once again, thank you for joining us on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us today, and thank you for your great questions. Hope to see you all again soon. Until then, bye-bye, everyone. Take care, and please keep looking up.